Good afternoon, everybody. It's David Perlmutter from QuantumListing, and thank you for being with us today for our webinar, How Quantum Listing Can Help You Today, featuring Golden Retrievers. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching in real time or sometime in the future. We do have a special guest with us today, who I'd like to give a shout out to. And it's my mom.
Hello.
So this is my mother's first time that she's participated in a quantum listing webinar. If you want to ask her any questions about me, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll get to them in the Q&A section of our webinar today. So today is kind of interesting. Last week on our webinar, we had Allison Monahan McGuire as our guest speaker. And Allison's topic was present like a pro online. And what she does, she's a entrepreneur who's had her own tech businesses and is also a former actress. And she has sort of combined her two loves into teaching people like us how to present better online. So I'm going to try to incorporate what I learned last week in today's webinar. So wish me luck, everybody. Here we go. So today's agenda, just to start out, is we're going to tell you about a problem that we in the commercial real estate industry face. And this is following the McGuire method, by the way. We're going to tell you what we believe the solution is and our vision and how it works. We'll tell a little bit more about quantum listing in detail and why you should incorporate us into your tech stack. So let's get started with the problem. And Meyer and anybody else who is watching, if you want to tell us in the chat what your pain points are when you think of the listing services you already use, please do so. But I can tell you from talking with our customers that many of them use CoStar and LoopNet, and they're terrific services in many ways. However, since they have merged, they have increased their prices dramatically, and they seem to do it every single year. They have teams of researchers who still provide old information inexplicably, and they don't really care much about you, to be honest. And we want to sort of address those, and when we developed quantum listing, that is sort of what we had in mind. And we had a response about what pain points are from Mayor Siegel. And he said they're too expensive. Small businesses want functional information and pictures of the grounds and interiors. And those are all great points, Mayor. Thank you for that. So quantum listing has, so here's our little illustration of that the budget is hard, and the customer service isn't necessarily what you are going to anticipate for something that you're spending so much money on.
Ability that they had prior.
I think, hold on. Okay, sorry. So we have really worked very hard for the last several years in rectifying that and providing you with a solution where we not only respect you, we respect your budget. There's no reason you need to do 3 or 4 more deals a year just so that you can afford your real estate information service. That really doesn't make sense to me. If you look at Google, you can get just about anything you want to know from Google for free. Of course, they're advertising supported, so it's not entirely free because you're giving them your eyeballs, and they're monetizing your eyeballs. But and other listing services out there, some are free, but again, everybody's trying to monetize your eyeballs. So if you are putting your listings on a listing site that is free, it's because they're selling you something else. And we try to provide you with a fair value. Uh, and as a broker, I know that what I want is as many people to see my listings as possible. So we let everybody search our site for free. You post for less. It's $89.99 a year to add unlimited listings, and we help you share your listings everywhere. In fact, when you add your listings to our service, we share them to our own social media feeds on um, LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Twitter. And we'll show you a couple other ways that you can share your listings. And of course, we've worked very hard on our search engine optimization, so your listings very often show up on the first pages of Google searches, as well as your profile if somebody is searching in your name, for your name. So the result of that is that there's a very high return on your investment. For $90 a year, $89.99 if you want to get technical. If you're making, 10 grand on a commission, that's a pretty good return on your investment. So we think that we give you an extraordinary value with that. We know we do, in fact. And we're very customer centric. Julia, who is our customer success advocate, and I work really hard with our customers to make sure that they're always putting their best foot forward by making sure your profile is maximized and that your listings have great pictures and all the things that you need to do to have your listings not only be findable on the internet, but be attractive enough so that somebody wants to get in touch with you and talk to you about making a deal. And so through our service, we're giving you lots of exposure. And if just what you're getting organically isn't enough for you, we've created a suite of on-demand advertising services that you can add, and you're not locked into them. So when you want to uh, increase your exposure, we've made it really very easy for you and affordable as well. So the sum of that is we've created for you a world where your listings have more exposure and views and your budget has more freedom. So our vision statement really is, that we give you maximum exposure by offering a range of features so you can market your properties without breaking your budget. And you can post an unlimited number of listings with the ability to market them seamlessly on all of your favorite business social media accounts. And even better, there's no paywall. So for potential buyers and tenants to view the properties on our site. And if we did say in our promotional stuff that there'd be golden retrievers, and we don't want to let you down. And my mom, I guess, introduced me to my first golden retriever, Honey. She was a wonderful dog, and we had another one growing up, and as an adult, my family had a golden retriever, and they're solid dogs. They're very reliable, and they are loving, and they're wonderful, and they bring you stuff. Sometimes it's not what you expect. Uh, uh, my my dog Honey, growing up, used to go all over the neighborhood collecting New York Times, which my dad had to deliver on his way to work. Uh, because every time she brought a newspaper, she got a cookie, and she liked the cookies. So be careful how you train your dog. So here is Jasper, my golden retriever, and Troy, Julia's golden retriever. Troy is a very talented dog. He can do stand-up paddle boarding, um, and I think that some of
He's
the
actually retired now, but he had a strong paddleboard career.
thank you, Julia, and we think that many of the laudable qualities that a golden retriever has are things that we try to emulate here, where there's loyalty and care, and we catch what you throw, and we retrieve customers and bring them back to your listings. So, and we help you find what you're looking for too. So we hope you didn't get feel let on about the golden retriever thing, but next time you see a golden retriever, make sure it's owner will let you just give it a nice pat on the head for me, would you? So. Uh, so let's talk about on-demand advertising first. We have three different features for on-demand advertising, and let me find my way back to Chrome, and hang on a second, please. All right, there we go. All right, so this is my profile page on QuantumListing, and as you can see, it says Perlmutter Properties. My name is David Perlmutter. Perlmutter Properties is a company I started back in 1989. It is a brokerage business. I'm licensed in New York and Connecticut, and we also have a New Jersey brokerage that I'm a partner in, but I'm not licensed in New Jersey. Just want to full disclosure there. And so one of the reasons why I started QuantumListing is because of my dissatisfaction with LoopNet and CoStar. When they merged, they started making things super expensive. It used to be, CoStar was always kind of a premium product and had lots of bells and whistles, and they made you pay for it. But LoopNet used to be kind of reasonable, and it was great. You could, and it was geared towards not just the brokerage community, but also to the potential tenant and buyer community. And in the old days, you could see all the listings on it without a paywall or without having to register. And in the recent years, that has changed. And not only has it changed, they've made it more expensive for you to have less access, for others to have less access to your listings. And so those are some of the things that motivated me to start QuantumListing. And plus, customer service was really important. I wanted to customers feel that they were being treated fairly. My dad was in the supermarket business, and one thing he always told me was it's a lot easier to keep a customer than to get a new one, and you need to offer them good value and respect them. And I think somewhere along the way, CoStar and LoopNet lost the page on giving good value and respecting their customers. And as much as I didn't like that at the time, it created an opportunity for me with QuantumListing. So that's sort of how we got where we are today. And when people come to our site, there's two ways that people initially come to our site primarily. One is they're doing a search on the internet for commercial real estate, and we show up on that all important first page of the search results, and that's great. And The other way that people come, sometimes they're just looking for listing services and they'll type in quantum listing. And if that's the case, they end up on our landing page, and right there at the top of our landing page is a big search box where they can start searching for real estate and hopefully find whatever it is that they're looking for. So we wanted to so those were important things. And as a broker, again, I want as many people to see my listings as possible. So we've done different things, and some you'll recognize from other services you may have used, but there's one thing in particular that's quite unique. We have, as I mentioned earlier, a suite of on-demand advertising things, and two of them are on-site, where you can promote your listings so that they show up at the top of searches in that particular market where you specify. And for that, it's a $2.50 a week fee or $7.50 for a month. So you don't need to be Jeff Bezos to afford that service. You can also promote your brand where when people search in a market before the first listing, you'll have your marketing message show up. So if they click on that, it brings them to your profile page, and hopefully they'll look at your listings, or if you don't have listings, they'll see your bio and your social media contacts, links rather, and they'll want to get in touch with you because they're impressed with you as a professional. So, and here's an example of the bio, and right here are the social media links. We've also made it very easy for you to share your profile, and you can do it to an individual by email. You can share it with a click of a button to LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. And if you have your own website and you want your listings to show up on your website, there's this little bit of code that we provide for you, and Quantum Listing will serve your profile with all of your listings to your website. You can also share individual listings one at a time, but this is a great way for people to see your listings, and to the extent that you update them regularly, which you really should, you don't want to frustrate people with stale information. As when you update your listings on Quantum Listing, they show up on your website instantly in their updated form. So it saves a lot of work. Before I started using Quantum Listing to serve my listings to the website, I had to go through a process that would take 2 to 3 weeks from the time of adding the listing, getting the listing to the time that it was up on my website. I would have to contact my website designer, give her the information on the new listing. She would design it. We'd go back and forth on the design of the listing, and then she would send it to the coder to add to the website. And now, instead, within 10 or 15 minutes, I can have my listing up and running on not only Quantum Listing, but my website as well. So that was a real time saver and a money saver as well, because designers and coders generally do not come cheaply, because they're professionals and they deserve to get paid for what they're worth. So then the third item that I mentioned is something that is really, I think, unique to us, where with a few clicks you can advertise your listing on the Google Display Network. The Google Display Network serves advertisements to 94% of all the websites that have ads on them. And so when you are on the websites that you normally browse, if they have ads, there's a more than 90% likelihood that it's coming from the Google Display Network. And the way this works is you click a couple of buttons and you then select where you want those to show. Typically it will be, the default is the town where the listing is in, but say it's a suburban office space and you're in a global pandemic, just a hypothetical situation, of course. So you think that maybe people from New York City are looking for a suburban office space so that they don't have to take the train and the subway or go drive into the city and have their uh, car parked by a stranger. If so, you say, oh, maybe I'm going to advertise my suburban space in the city, and people who live in the suburbs but work in the city now might see this and then contact me. So just there's a million use cases that you could have, but that's one that I think is particularly resonant today. So you would click advertise on Google, and um, then with just a couple of clicks, you'll select which listing you want, what budget you want. So let's say I wanted to spend $25 to advertise my listing in Ardsley. Hold on. So I click on that, and then if I were to, then I would just click create order. It would take me to PayPal, and then it would go to Google for moderation and review. That typically takes about 24 hours, and then it runs. So a $25 order is going to run for about 5 days, and we'll show you the typical results for an ad like that. One of the things we have is this great analytics section here, and let me just scroll down. So here's online advertisement, and each so this shows, and over the last month I ran 4 different ads, and so those 4 different ads generated 164,146 views on the Google Display Network. So those views generated 80 clicks. So if you were to use the Google Search Network instead, each single one of those clicks would probably cost, and it varies where you are from market to market. It could cost anywhere from $3 or $4 a click to well over $20 or $30 per click. So again, this was 4 ads, so $100 total spend, got 164,000, over 164,000 views and 80 clicks. So very, very cost-effective way. So it's $1.25 per click. And now, if I were to look at these listings and the views that I got on them and the number of clicks on LoopNet, and I did with one of my listings a few weeks ago, and I can tell you that the number of views and clicks that we got using the Google Display Network far surpassed what we got on LoopNet. And it was not even close. It really was, the number of views was probably 10 times, and the number of clicks also somewhere between 7 and 10 times. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was really a very effective way of getting people to see the listing. And the people that, not only did I get that result, but the people who are other customers who use this service use it over and over again. And that tells me that the reason they're using it is because they are finding it effective. And they do call and send us emails telling us that they're getting leads from this. So I think it really works. Now,
Hey, David.
Yeah.
I know last time we had Becca Carlson was on the webinar, who had just run a very successful ad, and she was able to give a testimonial live on the webinar. And I know that she's not available today, but I'd be more than happy to read what Becca said about the Google Ads as an example, or I can also put it in the chat, whatever is best.
I would please read it, Julia, because those watching it later won't be able to see the chat.
That's very true. All right. Well, I'm not as amazing as Becca, but I can only do my best. So Becca said, she said, there has been a proliferation of listing sites over the last few years, but I am personally partial to a company called QuantumListing. In addition to absolutely loving their leadership and their platform, they have a Google ad integration that is staggering. It's literally a couple of clicks, crazy easy, and you can start an ad campaign for a property. I ran 2 of these last week and I could not believe the results. I did one for my property in Geneva and I spent $25. It came in at 36,000 views on Google and 17 click-throughs. So people use that to get to the site and learn about the property. And I actually had a showing yesterday from this. That is the only way they could have found me. It was a residential broker out in Geneva. There's no way they could have found me otherwise. I was very excited, and I've done the Google ads before, and they are incredibly complex. Even as a marketer, I can't stand them. The fact that you have already set all of this up is the best thing in the whole wide world. So this is genius. Thank you. I've never had that much exposure for an ad, and I didn't even have to learn Google Ads in order to do it.
Well, thank you for that, Julia, and thank you, Becca. Hopefully,
Yeah, thank you, Becca. All I did was read.
so again, this was an unsolicited testimonial, and clearly it worked for Becca. Obviously, there's no guarantees that every time you run one of these ads, you'll get a lead and have a showing. But if you're a veteran of the commercial real estate industry, you know that there are no guarantees on anything other than you're going to work really hard and hopefully have results to show for it. So we are very enthusiastic about this, and we think it's a great way for you to market your listings in a really interesting way. And to the extent that you decide that it works for you, you may end up saying, I don't need to pay $150 a month per listing to that other service, because if I spent that $150 a year, even less, per listing on Google Display Ads through QuantumListing, you're going to get a incredible multiple of the number of views and clicks on your listing than you would get doing things the way you may have been doing them for the last 20 something years. So it's something for you to think about and see if you're willing to take a chance on that. We're hoping that is compelling. I mean, I can show you. Let me show you more of QuantumListing, since I have your attention right now, and my mom is here, so I don't know how much she's seen QuantumListing. So when you add your listings to our site, they show up on the first page of our listings, and as people add listings, your listing will slide down the page and then onto the next page. And as soon as you add them, we're sharing them to our Twitter feed, and they're queued up to go to our LinkedIn and Facebook feeds. LinkedIn and Facebook have a limit on the number of posts you can do from a service like ours in a single day. So that's why they don't go out the same day. And if you don't want to spend money on advertising your listing other than having it up on our site and whatever other sites you choose to have it on. We do have other ways for which you can use our site to get more exposure. So one of them, let's go, I'm going to go to one of my listings. I set this up before. So I have this property in Hapakong, New Jersey. That's one of my listings. Also a partner in this particular one. So we have the ability for you to email it, your listing, not just to one or a few people, but to add your own email list, your own email distribution list. And I'm going to do that right here. So I've got a list with probably 150 or 200 brokers in the Hapakong market. And I'm just going to put a short message here. You have to add a subject line, and say it's for residential lots in Hapakong Heights. We'll consider all reasonable offers. All right, so just a short message, and then I'm going to hit send. And so that has just gone out to 150 residential brokers in the Hapakong market. Maybe they have a developer or a builder that they know, or a client who's been looking for some land to buy to build their own dream home. And it is included with your QuantumListing membership. So if you're using MailChimp or Constant Contact or any of those other services, they're all great services, but they do charge you a monthly fee for that. You can, for your $89.99 a year, you can reach as many people as you have in your mailing list just by uploading a CSV file. And just so that you understand, we do not then go and mine your CSV file for people to send our own emails to. It remains your proprietary email list. And another way that we help you increase your exposure is through our networks and groups. So when you join QuantumListing, we assign you to a network and a group that are based on where you do business. So if you're a New York broker, we'll assign you to the New York group and network. If you have listings in multiple markets, we'll assign you to multiple networks and groups. You can ask to join as many networks and groups as you would like. And in the group feature, one of the things that you can do is, hang on, so let's stick with New Jersey. So say I wanted to then let everybody in the New Jersey group know about my listing, which apparently I did back in April. Anyone have a residential developer looking for land in Hapakong and etc. And I added a hyperlink to it, and that will go back to my listing. And the way people are informed of that message waiting for them in the group is at the end of the day, they'll get an email from our service saying you have a message waiting for you on QuantumListing, and they can click that and it'll take them to the group where there is the message. So again, each state has a varying number of QuantumListing members in it, but with maybe 2 or 3 minutes worth of work on your part, you can reach dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of people who are brokers or buyers in your market. And again, that's included with the $89.99 annual fee. If you are not a current member, you cannot post those messages or send those emails. So, do make sure that if you do join and add your listings, that you stay current with your membership, so you can, in fact, have those services available to you. And same with the analytics that we were showing you before. Each listing, well, you can see here at the top of this listing right here that it has 903 views over time, and that it was last updated. This number right here, the listing was updated. When you're searching for your customers on our site, that is a really good piece of information to have. I know that when I'm searching on other sites, I feel that I have to call every broker on on every listing to make sure that it's still available, because a lot of the information on those sites is stale. And this will tell you exactly how fresh it is. So if I see that it was updated on July 3rd, I'm saying to myself, well, this is good. I don't need to call and make sure it's still available. If I see that it's something that was added in 2018, then I might make more of an effort to find out if it's still available. So it can hopefully save you some time that way as well. And in the analytics, you can see the number of views in a week or a month or over all time, and you can see in the aggregate as well as by the individual listing. So to the extent that you have landlords who you work with that want to know what kind of activity their listing is getting, then you can provide that information for them very easily. And to the extent that they're unhappy with the number of views and your listings are getting, you can then take action and promote the listing on our site or promote it on the Google Display Network. And hopefully in the next month when you're issuing that report, they're going to see a nice jump in the numbers, and you won't have an unhappy landlord anymore. So I would encourage you to look at that as well.
Hey, David, can I add one more little tiny success story about what you just spoke about?
Yes, please do.
So, okay, so this is something that's a little new, and I would definitely encourage you to take advantage of it while we have not yet monetized it, because it's quite the offer. But last week, we had someone add a listing in Connecticut, and the beauty of these networks where we have lists of the real estate professionals in various states is that we actually can use the first email feature that David talked about where you can upload your own list. We actually allowed this broker to use our list to send out his listing. We didn't send him the emails, but we helped him do it. So he basically was able to expand his personal marketing list and reach a whole nother sector of people he normally wouldn't have reached out to. And I did hear back from him within a couple of days that he got a few responses from that. So definitely this is kind of like combining that email feature with our network feature, and would definitely encourage you to take advantage of it while it's included in your membership and isn't a charge, because it's definitely a cool feature.
Thank you, Julia. So we think that quantum listing is a very compelling value, and hopefully you feel that way as well. And sorry, hit the wrong link there. There we go. So we encourage you to join Quantum Listing. At the top of every page on our website is a little green join button. It takes about 30 seconds to sign up. You get we do ask you to, if you're going to be adding listings, to become a individual or enterprise member. Individual members are if you're just signing up for yourself. Enterprise would be if it's for your office and you're adding agents. You can also, if you're a member, if you're a build-out user, build-out does great marketing materials and websites, those users can syndicate their listings to us directly from build out, and use all the premium features on our site. You do need to be a premium member of our site as well. So we ask you to add your payment information to PayPal when you are joining, and you get the first 30 days free. And then after 30 days, if you haven't canceled, and most people who start that subscription don't cancel, you get charged the $89.99. There are lots of companies that use us, including some of the big companies and a lot of the smaller and mid-sized companies as well. We have about 6,000 members at this point, and we're growing every day. So it's very exciting to be a part of that. And the more people that use our site and the more listings that are on our site, the more useful it becomes for everybody. That's something called the network effect. And we are beneficiaries of that network effect, and you along with us. So again, join and add your listings, and you'll be helping everybody in the commercial real estate community. We've talked about that already. Here's just an example of listing promotion, and in the same stroke, you can see a brand promotion here as well. So you'll know when something is a paid ad on our site, or by the green band around it. So the listing promotion, again, brings your listings to the top of searches. Other listings, show up in the most recent ones are the ones that show up highest. So if your listing has been on the site for a while and you haven't sold or leased it yet, we think that you ought to consider boosting it so that it does get those. Just like on Google searches, where the mission, the holy grail is to be on the first page, the same is true for listing sites as well, whether it's us or any other one. So making a small investment in your listing to have it show up on the first page is a good investment on your part. So we recommend that you do that. And again, here's that brand promotion. And the form for online advertisement, as you can see, is very simple. You just need to pick the listing. If you want it to show up in a second market, in addition to where the listing is based, you can add that information. If you want to be reminded when your budget is about to be exhausted, you can check this little box right here. Again, it takes about 24 hours for Google to approve the ad, and the analytics on it, the number of clicks and views that you get, are updated once a day at the end of the day. So you'll be able to see how your ad is doing, not as soon as it happens, but within a very reasonable time. So you'll know right away whether or not it's been successful. And with that, I would like to open up the floor to any questions you have. Mom, do you have any questions while we're waiting for? And you can unmute yourself, or type it in the chat if you have any questions.
I don't have any questions. I learned a lot back to QuantumListing, and if I had something to sell, I'd certainly list it.
Thank you. There's no endorsement like a mother's endorsement. Am I right? So thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.
All right. And so one other thing I'd like to mention is that recently we made a small change, and sometimes small changes are all you need. And one of the results of this small change, and I'll show you what it is in a second, was that the number of inquiries about properties, at least the ones that come through our site, rather than somebody clicking on the email or phone or calling somebody, they've probably increased 4 or 5-fold recently. So in here, I was going to show you that. So and it was kind of a simple thing. So what happens, I'm logged in. Actually, I can't see it on my own listing. I'll show you on somebody else's listing. Hang on, sorry about that. All right, so, okay. After 15 seconds, the way our lead capture system worked before was after 15 seconds of looking at your listing, a pop-up shows up like this one right here and encourages the visitor to add their name and contact information. And that was good, but what we found is that by just adding this little button right here at the top, the contact the agent, same form, same pre-populated with the address of your listing, the number of people that have been asking through this part of our service for additional information has either quadrupled or quintupled. I haven't looked at the latest numbers, but so it's pretty dramatic, the difference. So, and if you think about what you can do to drive people to your listing by either using the Google Display Network ads or by boosting your listing on our site, you really begin to have a lot more control over the number of leads that you're going to be generating, and you're controlling your budget also. And for those of you who are veterans, if you have, say, a retail listing, you can rest assured that there's very little activity on your retail listing between Thanksgiving and the first of the year, because retailers are focused on doing their business. And so at that point, you might say, maybe I won't spend money on advertising for this listing then, and I'll save it for January or February when they've really seen their results and they know whether it was a good year and they should be opening more stores. So on other services, you don't have that option. You have to pay whatever you have to pay forever until you cancel. And if you don't cancel 2 months in advance, it really is forever, or at least for the next year. We don't lock you into that. You can, cancel your subscription so you don't auto renew with us very easily. It's right there on our website, and we're very, very transparent about all of our pricing, unlike a lot of other services. Again, not to pick on LoopNet, but of course I'm going to pick on LoopNet because they pick on us. I have been a customer for probably 20 plus years of them, and I would give it up, but some of my clients, are believers in defensible failure, where if you don't sell or lease their listing, they can always tell their boss, well, it was on LoopNet, they're getting as much exposure as possible. Well, we now know, if you're paying attention today, that isn't as much exposure as possible, because if you advertise on the Google Display Network through us, then you're getting closer to as much exposure as possible. But so the last 3 years, I've gotten each year between a 25 and 33% increase each year. And this past year, I have a 15 listing plan with them, and I pay somewhere around $8,000 a year for it. And so, well, I wanted to cut back on the number of listings I was going to have on LoopNet. And they said, well, you're currently at a grandfathered rate, which is more favorable than the current rate. So if you switch to a 10 listing plan from your 15 listing plan, you'd no longer be grandfathered, and it would be more expensive. So that was one of the most ingenious bits of doublespeak I've heard since I read Catch-22 in high school. And it just boggled my mind. So if for $8,000, if for $100, I got 164,000 views of my listings, how many do you think I could get for $8,000? I'll let you do the math there at home. That's not math I am capable of doing on the top of my head, but it would be a lot. So I think it makes a lot of sense to see if you can work quantum listing into your marketing plan, and I think that you'll be very happy with the results. So please join. Please check it out. Do your searches on our site. We don't have as many listings as some of the others, but I can tell you that most of our listings are fresh and accurate, so it saves you a lot of time, and you're going to be happy that you looked on our site first, because you don't have to verify everything, because you know whether it's accurate or not. Again, any questions? I'm going to pause the recording, and we'll hang around for a little while, and if you just want to chat or have any questions, we're happy to stick around and answer them. Before I pause, I do want to, of course, thank everybody for their time today. As brokers, our time is our stock in trade, and I also want to thank Julia for her help in putting today's presentation together, and my mom for, conceiving me and being the great woman that she is. We have a question: what is our coverage area? And we are nationwide. There are areas of concentration like New York and Connecticut and Florida and Texas and Arizona and Chicago, sort of the major metropolitan areas. But we have pockets of concentration in Montana, for instance, or Buffalo. And again, we keep growing. So if you don't find it this week, maybe you'll find it next week. Hopefully that answers your question. There's a question: listing volume from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts. Let me get back to you offline on that one. I don't know that off the top of my head. Of course, one thing you can do if you just wanted to find out how many, do search Massachusetts. I started typing Massachusetts in the search box here. I'm selecting it from the drop down, and we have 412 listings in Massachusetts. Let's do New York. I don't think we have many in Rhode Island. It's a small state. So in New York, we have this. This is Manhattan, New York State.
New York State.
New York City. I need New York State. Sorry about that. I mean, just in Buffalo alone, we have a gajillion. So there's 2,859 in New York State. In Pennsylvania, we'll get you Pennsylvania also. And in Pennsylvania, 876 listings. So as you can see, there's a decent amount, and we have for sale listings, we have for lease listings, you can post sublease listings. We're adding a new feature in the next week where if you have wants, things that you're looking for your clients, you can crowdsource them. You can already crowdsource that in your group, but you'll then be able to have it show up in this main feed as well. So we're thinking that you're going to be able to get a lot of information, a lot of help from your colleagues through that. So thank you again, everybody, for your time. Mayor, thank you for your questions. And Ted, thanks for being with us as well. And everybody else, we'll see you on the next webinar. Thanks.